Welcome to the third episode of the Mol België Season 13 recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and joining me as always is a Canadian who once paid 3 Thai women to pummel him under a table, Logan Saunders.
How did you know?
I mean, the amount of drunk voicemails I've had off you, Saunders. We could do an entire podcast just on those.
Everybody could do a podcast based off of those. They could do a podcasting series based off of those.
And normally I'd introduce David Bindley, but I want your guess of what your intro is going to be first, Bindles.
It's going to be something about that line from the bar challenge where they were like, he bought balls, there was role-playing.
And the guy who claims he's the Mother Teresa of Melbourne, David Bindley.
Close enough.
Close enough, yeah. Obviously, you're going to get a Hilda one. She's an icon. She is, I think, now the first old woman to make it to episode 4 since Annalise on België, I think.
South Africa, yeah.
Are you saying I'm an icon and Logan isn't?
Yeah, comparatively, I think. It's a low
Okay.
bar. But yeah, I don't think there's been an old woman who's made it to episode 4 since Annalise.
What about the two ladies from the Mexico season?
Oh yeah, I forgot about
was
that.
Final Four, wasn't she?
Yeah, was she really an older woman though? Katrine was.
She was 50-something.
Was she? I thought she was in her 40s.
Are we having another off moment again?
I think she was about 44, Pascal. She might be in her 50s now, but I'm pretty sure she was in her 40s when she did Mexico. Katrine, I will give you. Katrine was in her 50s, definitely. But I think Pascal was in her 40s.
Well, that was the first... That would have been one season after South Africa, so that's still 2018.
Yeah.
That's still 7 years regardless. That's still a lot of seasons. It's like an all-female team making the final 3 on Amazing Race. Very rarely happens.
So I have just looked this up. Katrine was 54 and she made it to episode 4. Pascal was 45.
Yeah.
Therefore, not an older woman.
She cannot bleat.
Yes. She might be above the outer and courteous line, but she cannot bleat. Have you had good weeks?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
That good,
Yeah,
eh?
it's been chaotic at the moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
You've been off identifying the remote location for Taskmaster Australia, I believe.
Yeah, well, because I started watching it last night, and watching the credits where they do all those little quick shots that out of context. It's basically the Belgium sort of next week on sort of thing, and I'm like, wait a second, I know that place, I know that place, I know that place, and then I went back and looked at my photos from when I was in Sydney last year. It's Cockatoo Island, which is a sort of former, I guess, dockyards or something. It's basically, an island in the middle of Sydney Harbour. But I'm like, I've walked there. I've got the photos to prove it. And one of the tasks we see is right next to where I took that sign that we used as a clue for historians last year, the one with the audio tour for number 16.
Yeah. So
it was very unsettling just sort of watching Taskmaster and seeing somewhere like I've actually been.
And how's your week been, Saunders?
Uneventful.
Good. I'm glad.
How am I the interesting one for once?
Yeah. It doesn't happen very often.
Still 4 more. Yeah, still got about... I'm going to Vancouver in a few weeks, so for a couple days, and then off to Europe after that. So, yeah, not much planned for those next few weeks. My parents had their 48th wedding anniversary.
They did, very impressive.
Yeah, then I was at the grocery store and somebody put a tray of muffins amongst the popcorn section, which I found to be kind of funny.
Have your parents admitted you're not the favourite child yet? Or does my quest need to continue?
Yeah, I guess your quest is still ongoing, Michael.
When is Mother's Day in North America? Is that België weekend again?
Yes, probably.
Excellent news.
Second, yeah, was that second Sunday of May, yeah.
Yeah, it will be. Interesting choice. I have to start off my section by saying a happy belated birthday to one of our favourite Americans, Tim from the Mall, Ohio. And of course, as a result, a happy Groundhog Day to one of our least favourite quiz writers, Daniel Peake.
Oh,
Happy Groundhog Day!
Happy Groundhog Day, Daniel Peake. Whoa!
I did send him a screenshot from Jeopardy last Friday when I was watching it earlier, because there was another Groundhog Day clue. And every time it comes back, I always screenshot it and send it straight to Dan and just go, I was thinking of you when I saw this.
That they should just do it like a category where like it's the same clue 5 times.
Dan basically did that for Dan's quiz during lockdown because of the Groundhog Day joke repeatedly.
Ah,
I don't think any of them was question number 9 that time either.
no, that's a shame.
I have also, against my better judgment, pre-ordered a Nintendo Switch 2.
Do tariffs affect your pricing?
They do not, thankfully, although it is about £70 more than I paid for the Switch 1, because I did look on Amazon.
Yeah.
Is that with inflation accounted for?
Yeah, it's with inflation accounted for, so it's not terrible.
No.
It's still way more money than I was hoping to have to pay, but luckily, I did get paid on Monday, and I did get my annual bonus, so that's gone towards it, and also I had some bit of money to put towards it, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
It looks like it's going to be about $250 more expensive for us than the Switch 1, which not great anyway, but when you got to pay, $114, whatever it is for Mario Kart.
Yeah. Well, the difference between the base console and Mario Kart is £35, I think it is in RRP, which is not terrible. That's about what I'd pay for Mario Kart anyway, so I've just gone for the Mario Kart model.
Yeah. Like, I probably will get a Switch 2 at some point, but with the prices the way they are, maybe not straight away.
Yeah.
And certainly like that Direct where it's sort of... I don't know whether I like the way the Donkey Kong game looks. And really, the Donkey Kong and Mario are probably the only 2 games that I saw that I'd actually play. Maybe Metroid if I get bored, but, it's Metroid. I'm not going to lose any sleep over not playing it.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw how good Mario Kart looked, I was sold on it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the only game you buy, you're paying £500 just to play Mario Kart.
It's not £500, it's £429, thank you very much. But yeah, my history with Mario Kart is quite well documented. I was briefly top 100 in the world on a Mario Kart course for Mario Kart Wii.
Koopa Cape.
Correct. I'm sure we've discussed it at length before, but yeah. I love Koopa Cape, I love Mario Kart Wii, I love Mario Kart generally, so yeah. I was always going to be getting Mario Kart World.
Do you have to climb through a wooden tunnel collecting bananas before you play it?
I believe that is part of the requirements to be able to pre-order it on Amazon this time, yeah.
Damn it, Bezos.
You have to send Jeff Bezos a video of you crawling through a wooden tunnel collecting bananas.
Oh, I have plenty of those videos.
And moving swiftly on, and the final thing that I want to draw your attention to is something incredibly rare in television that I have been watching this week, and that is a Netflix show that is not shit.
$1 Million Island? $1 Million Secret?
Correct, $1 Million Secret. How did you know?
I've heard a couple of positive reviews about it already.
I did not hear positive reviews of $1 Million Island, Logan.
Yeah. So I mentioned last year being a little bit obsessed with Fortune Hotel, which was a brilliant show and is coming back for a second series. It's kind of like a solo Fortune Hotel, but with even more bonkers twists.
Excellent.
So it's 12 people going to a hotel. One of them finds $1 million in a box in their room, and the whole goal is to eliminate the millionaire so that it's then randomly reassigned to someone. Each day, the millionaire has a secret task to complete to get an advantage.
Yeah.
Those advantages can range from a double vote to cancelling out other people's votes, or my personal favourite, a kill shot, where they are the only vote that will count.
Ooh.
Obviously, if they don't do it, then there is penalty votes, and in fact, in the case of the kill shot one, it was kill shot, or you have 3 votes against you at the elimination. The vote counts are never revealed to the players.
Ooh, that's evil.
Yeah. It is also filmed in a little place called Kelowna.
What?
It is filmed on the shores of Lake Okanagan.
Are you serious? How have I not heard about that?
Well, the carrier pigeon hasn't got to you yet, Logan.
This is why I expected you to have to be aware of it, Saunders, is because it's filmed at a hotel that is nicknamed the Stag, which is the name that the hotel's given in the show. I believe it's called Chateau Kelowna or something like that in real life. But yeah, it looks like it's less than half an hour from where you went to uni.
Okay, so we have to time out here. I need to look this place up. How did no one tell me that that this was?
It is also hosted by Peter Serafinowicz, who I love anyway, but he is scenery chewing in his role.
Ooh.
Oh, Chateau Okanagan.
That's the one, yeah. Chateau Okanagan.
Is it good scenery chewing or is it Alan Cumming scenery chewing?
It is amazing. He is perfect in the role.
Oh, good.
It's also especially good given that the guy who created the show is friend of the podcast, Glenn Hugel.
Ah. Hi, Glenn.
In one of his 2 shows that is actually, it finishes this week, and his latest show on Hulu starts on Thursday, I believe. Got to Get Out, which is basically reinventing Channel 5's Jailbreak.
Happy Groundhog Day, Glenn.
Yeah. I must admit, when I started watching this show, I'm like, that has got to be Canada. That must be the Rockies in some capacity. And then I looked it up and it's like, yeah, it's the Okanagan.
Yeah, just 50 kilometers away from my house.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like from where it was about half an hour from where you went to uni.
No, it'd be, no, not half. It would be, I think even, let's see. Yeah, it's only 12 kilometers away from where I went to university.
Oh, well. The only reason I know it was that close is because when I Google Maps where it was, your old uni actually came up as a landmark.
Well, yeah, because it's really, it's just 12 kilometers away. And it's probably even closer just pure distance-wise, but the winding roads is what makes it 12 kilometers.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a rare Netflix show that is not terrible, I would say. Unsurprisingly, from the mind of Glenn Hugel.
Ooh.
Yeah, I am surprised they picked... It's not even like a major spot to film. That chateau doesn't even have that many Google Maps reviews for it or anything.
I suspect it's because it's in an impressive location and it has enough space for them to do the challenges. Because the challenges are stuff like take a speedboat to a local distillery and identify the correct whiskey that Peter wants, whilst your teammates are flying in a helicopter to a glacier to get the ice for it. Genuine challenge.
Ooh.
It's quite a good show. It's not the best show I've ever seen, obviously, but it is.
No.
It's solidly entertaining. There's, as of the time of recording, 6 episodes out, and by the time this comes out, there'll be 8. So anyway, België.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just blown away that like an international Netflix show filmed,
I have been deliberately not talking about this publicly and deliberately not talking about it to you guys on our chat so that I could tell you that it was filmed in Kelowna because I knew you wouldn't have found out about it.
Something other than Amazing Race Canada.
Yeah.
Yippee. Or the Mol UK.
I love how we summoned it by joking about Ogopogo last week. So, previously, the 10 candidates were shocked with the news that 2 of them would be leaving after the next test. When split up, Russiana and Alexei had a relaxing day making towel animals while the other 8 climbed the Dragon Tower to solve anagrams. At a train to the endpoint for 2 of them, Hilda became the last woman standing and faced a choice to see how well she'd done on the previous test or bank the money she brought through to the carriage with her. She chose to see her results, and the end result was that Russiana and Pasquino both came to the end of the line and were the first to be sent home. And we begin with Radio Mol playing a Thai version of All Shook Up, and then the Mole calling in.
You are speaking with the Mole. I would like to reveal something on national radio. I put something very good in the Mole case for today. You'll never guess what.
Cocaine!
When the Mole drilled in to put the note in the watermelon, they did also fill it with cocaine.
Yeah, the mole drilled a melon.
Oh, we've got Papa Bear, Bingo Bear, now Cocaine Bear.
Yeah. As the Mole so beautifully puts it, any hole is a goal. And it's day 6 in Kanchanaburi in the west of Thailand. They're having lovely fruit at breakfast, and Sarah is particular about how she has fruits, it can't be mixed, and Else hates having too much cinnamon in an apple tart.
Pedro trying to impersonate a squirty bottle is the most charming he's been so far.
Yeah, this was a big episode for Pedro, I would say. Especially after the first challenge.
Yeah. Like, he seems like, a perfectly nice, fun guy. It's just maybe he's not necessarily the most entertaining. But this week he was really fun.
Yeah. The other person who isn't particularly entertaining but seems perfectly lovely is Jan, who unsurprisingly gets a lot of airtime this week.
Yeah.
I even put in my notes right before the execution. I think Yan is going home because we suddenly learned a lot about him and he had a lot of focus. But Alexei doesn't like ice cream at all.
He would have sucked on last year's episodes.
Yeah, he would know. Yeah, maybe he was an alternate for the Sicily season. They thought, maybe not the right place for him.
He could have always driven the car.
True. So Alexei finds a card in a watermelon, saying to choose 6 candidates who like working with heights, and they pick everyone but Jan and Pedro, and everyone departs to the sound of Tarzan Boy. The 6 who like working with heights are visiting Elephant's World, a sanctuary for elephants where they can roam free, and Gilles meets them there, and they'll be feeding the elephants with watermelons. Jan and Pedro have 30 of them, and the more they get to the elephants, the more they will earn, up to €4,500. However, they will be rejected if the watermelons are not completely intact.
If only there was a watermelon sanctuary.
Yeah.
Just before we go into the challenge, I googled the hotel they stayed at just because I wanted to see, how much it was and all that sort of stuff. And I know Thailand is a pretty cheap country, but genuinely they paid less for that hotel than I paid to stay in a shining looking rundown hotel in exotic Canberra where I couldn't use the balcony because it wasn't structurally sound last year.
Yeah, I can believe that. Thailand is ludicrously cheap.
Yeah, and Canberra is not.
Yeah. For comparison, by the way, the Chateau Okanagan was about $8,000 a week, I believe.
I just checked was that in pounds?
Yeah, that was in pounds.
Yeah, I just checked. It said, $13,000 Canadian.
Yeah. It's a nice hotel, but it's not 13 grand's worth of nice hotel.
No.
So Jan and Pedro must free the melons from a crate, but they're given absolutely no instructions. Each melon's worth €150 for the pot, and they decide to open the crate immediately. And for their location to be revealed, the others must rank the 8 elephants on the board from smallest to largest.
Who knew Jules was a size queen?
This challenge is obviously the strongest of the 3 in this episode, but I just love how nuts this challenge ends up being. Because there is no reason to give Jan and Pedro no instruction. There is no reason to send people out across Elephant's World measuring elephants using a stick that is 30 centimeters tall. There is no reason to send them out with a rope that's 50 centimeters tall. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that one challenge in Venom Jordan where they basically had to measure the trail with the rope that wasn't long enough. Except I think this is a much more fun version of that.
Yeah, because it's got elephants. And
yeah,
I mean, as I think we've probably already discussed this before, Saunders, from our various adventures in Thailand, but it's strongly discouraged now to interact with elephants.
Yeah, no, you can't even touch the elephants, and if you do, you're viewed as just an inconsiderate jerk-ass if you do that.
Yeah.
Over the last 10 years or so, it's very much changed from everyone's going to be riding elephants to nobody's touching elephants.
Yeah. Very interesting that this happened in Kanchanaburi as well, because that was where the Tiger Temple from Amazing Race 1 was. And then they had to close that down basically because they were illegally breeding tigers or something. So it's sort of interesting to do an animal conservation challenge in that area that actually seems like they're helping the animals.
Yeah, not that this should be a surprise in the slightest, that this show is very good at being considerate of local customs and local people, but if they're going to do an elephant challenge in this season, this is definitely the right format to do an elephant challenge.
Yeah. I did love Shields being like, this place helps the animals. That's a very noble task we're happy to support. And when I say we, I obviously mean you.
Yeah.
And then I thought, look, Jules, I realize you're a new dad, but you can't just not feed an animal because they threw up on your other shirt.
I also love how when you Google Kanchanaburi, the first sentence in the description is, it's known for its death railway.
Well, it's not Sri Lanka. I don't know if I already mentioned this in one of the first 2 recaps already, but just, what was it, late 2021 when I was in a UT and I saw 2 people riding an elephant and just how shocking it was to still see that. And that was already 3.5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, the trip that I did to Ayutthaya was meant to have elephant riding in it, and they cancelled it.
So how long has that culture been the big culture shift on that to where almost everybody doesn't ride elephants anymore? 10 years ago?
That was 2015. October 2015, I was in Thailand. So, yeah.
it's been a while because Amazing Race was criticised for it when they did it in Laos season 31, and that was well before COVID, like 2017, 2018. So it would have been long enough
2019.
before that they should have known better.
Yeah, 2015 was when I was in Thailand and our potential elephant riding was cancelled.
Yeah, I remember when that Laos episode aired, because well, they would have filmed it in 2018, but it aired, in mid 2019. And that was surprising for a lot of people, where it's like, a task like this feels very outdated now. Because they kept saying, no, it's still a sanctuary. It's like, no, you're not even supposed to wash the elephants, and you're definitely not supposed to ride the elephants, even if it's for like a minute or 2 minutes, or they're treated really well, the rest of it, because the elephants really, really get stressed out transporting people.
For the avoidance of doubt, by the way, I wasn't going to ride the elephants. I just wanted to see the elephants because they're cool.
It's nice. It's nice for you to see somebody else your size for once.
Yeah, I mean, at the top of my head, probably would come up to the top of their leg. It's a strange concept for me to be around a creature that is actually taller than me. But yeah, the attraction of that excursion on that cruise was Ayutthaya and not the elephants, or not the riding of the elephants, at least. I realise when I tell that story, it sounds like I'm being glib and going, yeah, I wanted to ride elephants and I couldn't, but no.
It's like when you go to see the pyramids and the Sphinx in Giza, where they have all of those people with horses and camels, and they do not treat those animals well at all. So they always tell people, if you get asked to get on a horse or camel, please say no, because all you're doing is encouraging further mistreatment of those animals.
Yeah, I suspect that when they decided on Thailand as a location, they thought, we need to do something with elephants. Let's find somewhere that is insta conservation and that we don't require any touching.
Yeah. Like, it's happening with a few animals, like in various places as well, because like one of the big wildlife sanctuaries in Australia has basically just stopped doing the thing where they get like tourists to come and cuddle the koalas, just because, well, a lot of koalas have chlamydia because Logan's been there.
I was about to say, I held a koala bear, so does that explain? I thought I got it from the koala. I didn't think I transmitted it to the koala.
There is a reason that Australia Zoo has the Logan Saunders Chlamydia Award.
I thought it was because I made a big donation.
Well, you did, but not the donation you want to make. No, it wasn't monetary, Saunders.
But yeah, like they've had to stop doing it, partly for the health reasons with the koalas, but also partly because nobody wants to do it anymore. Like, I guess because of, this and the elephants and camels and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting to see sort of how times have changed with those sort of things very quickly, very recently.
I love how I went into this episode going, I'm not going to make any more Saunders is a Deviant jokes this week. I'm going to give him a week off of them after last week's barrage of them. And then Saunders said that he made a donation to the Koala Chlamydia Award. You're just asking for it, Saunders.
Yeah, I said that on purpose. I just thought I was going to let it just wash over silently, but
Nah, mate. One thing I have remembered to mention that is vaguely België related as well. I'm not sure if you saw me post about this earlier, Bindles. Do you remember the creepy robots from the Sicily finale?
Yep.
The new Universal theme park that opens in about a month or so is using those robots to act as dragons from How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, wonderful.
And I've seen a demo of it, and it looks amazing. I've never seen that film, but it looks really, really cool.
Oh, good. I'm trying to think what the most exciting thing I saw when I was at Movie World last year would have been. Like they had like a fake Batmobile, but that was like parked, so it wasn't even like in motion. Like I can't believe it's been a year and I'm still complaining about how bad that theme park was.
It didn't even have any t-shirts that said Papa Bear on it.
I know, how rude. I should have bought that t-shirt from SeaWorld and just mailed it to Harmstone Heights for you to dump on Jill's at the reunion.
Absolutely, you should have done that because you know I would have worn it.
Yeah, I know.
If you'd have bought it in my size, I would have worn that to the België finale, obviously.
They didn't have it in your size. They didn't have it in my size.
Just as an aside, I have already bought the shirt for this year's finale, and it is delightful.
Oh, excellent.
I will be getting comments. I'm determined.
Is it a photo of a koala with chlamydia?
It is not. It is specifically a photo of Logan Saunders' face CGI'd onto a koala with chlamydia. Weirdly being held by someone who has been face morphed into Gilles de Costa. It's all very creepy.
No, that's weird.
Yeah.
I made it
So
weird.
you're saying that a koala bear with my facial features is going to be held against Jill DaCosta?
Yeah.
Papa Koala Bear.
Fuzzy is going to hate us for bingo this week.
Yeah, she's going to hate us for bingo most weeks, and she's going to hate us if she ever gets bingo, which I'm not sure
Yeah.
Saunders is aware of. I've made a personal Peter Yankers gamble. Originally, it was going to be if she gets 2 banners consecutively, but I've now just lowered it to if she gets bingo this season, she gets a clue to what I'm slipping in about historians this season.
Yeah.
And the trouble with our clues is that they're not always that clear, is what I'll say on that.
Yeah. Like I love that you've come up with a clue to sort of make it easier. I've come up with a clue to make it easier, and I don't think she's going to end up getting either of them by the end of the season. So we're just completely wasting our time.
Absolutely. But that is kind of how this podcast works at this point.
Yeah.
So, in this challenge, we do obviously get more Hilda running, which is worthy of note. And they split into pairs and must measure the elephants while Elsa and Nimrod stay by the board.
How does Hilda always look like she's running uphill even when she's on flat ground?
Hilda runs like someone who has never run before. She runs like a newborn giraffe.
On AstroTurf.
Hilda and Michelle find the first elephant and must measure it using a 30cm stick, and they underestimate it by 30cm. Alexi and Sarah have a 50cm rope and are off by 18cm. And every 10 minutes, the pair at the board get a quiz question about elephants, and if they're correct, they will get 1 correct measurement. Jayla asks them which is not part of the diet of an elephant, either peanuts, bananas, or carrots, and they say carrots, but it is peanuts.
It was very funny watching them bring up peanuts, like when Jules was introduced in the challenge, and Jill just completely ignoring it because he knew this was one of the questions.
Yep. And Jan and Pedro find a basketball hoop and decide to throw melons through it. Jan drops one, and as a result, they lose €150, and they bowl with one, breaking that as well.
And then one of them tries to balance it on their finger, and then it falls off. And then they try to juggle the watermelons.
I'm not being funny, but after 10 seasons back to back of this show, if you've seen it before, if you're presented with an array of tools and a box of watermelons, your first thought is probably not, let's do something with these watermelons. It's, let's wait and see.
Yeah.
Or it should be. It was such an obvious trap.
And like, to their credit, they sort of do seem to realize after the first couple that breaking the melons is bad, but then they don't have any inclination to stop doing that then.
And then they break them all just for funsies anyway.
They use different, every single tool they have.
Like, as soon as they work out the photo frame message, which is at this point anyway, of those who do nothing bad happens, all that sort of stuff. As soon as they work that out and they stop breaking melons, that is the point where you stop breaking melons. You don't put them back in the crate, pretend nothing's happened, and then smash them all just for shits and giggles anyway.
I like how there was even the basketball hoop, and I was thinking, you think you can't be playing basketball with the watermelon. Just you try. Watermelons don't bounce well on pavement. And then it'd be funny if there was a baseball bat, so they have Jan pitch it to Pedro, and he tries to hit it over the fence.
Well, they tried doing a slingshot, but it was too dangerous.
Oh, clear.
I love how sort of watermelons, as soon as you see watermelons on a reality TV show nowadays, you know the challenge is going to be great.
Yeah.
Like, because it's one of those things that doesn't matter what show it is, what challenge it is, watermelons are hilarious. Like, because we've got the watermelon slingshot, we've got stacking watermelons a couple of times on Amazing Race. There's one Big Brother Australia challenge where it's basically like that old electromagnet challenge they used to do in like early seasons of the Mole, where instead of being a big metal ball, they just sort of jammed one side of the magnet into the watermelon, and then you had to catch the watermelon. So not only, like, if it missed, not only do you drop the ball, you also get covered in delicious watermelon.
That seems really dangerous if it's from a high
Oh, absolutely.
because watermelons are not generally light.
No.
I wish they would have had a gun or a taser as well amongst the tools used, and they're just tasing the watermelon.
How is this the second time in 3 episodes we've joked about a taser being as part of the tools?
Just see, yeah, like, are there any messages appearing on the screen? I've tased 3 watermelons.
Just in the Mole case last week, there were like electric cables on one of the chains on the briefcases. So every time the person tried to open the case, they just got a huge shock. And then
I think I joked in episode 1 that that Hilda couldn't bring a taser for the Mole case because that was illegal.
well, we've established from this episode that they don't care about what's illegal anymore.
Yeah.
My favorite unaired tool was the bazooka. And then Jan and Pedro load up the watermelon into the bazooka, fire the watermelon, and accidentally hits an elephant.
It's a Marge Flanders situation. One of them's just standing at the top of some bleachers and gets hit with a t-shirt cannon firing a watermelon.
And then she wasn't in Family Edition.
Their dad was killed by a watermelon.
Can you imagine that in the episode? They go to the supermarket with watermelons. We can't go in there. Let me tell you kids something. Your dad loved watermelons.
Yeah, he made a huge donation at the watermelon farm.
Yeah. He ate watermelons his whole life.
That's rude.
He is being mauled by a watermelon bazooka, and they are laughing at him.
Good luck editing this shit, Michael.
Yeah, God help me. So the second question is what a female elephant's called, either mare, sow, or cow. And they say cow, and Jill tells them that Sayok is 2 meters and 11. They get a full set of 8, but if they push the red button and are wrong, then whoever pushes it is out of the challenge. Nimrod pushes and is out, as there are only 2 of 8 correct, the first and the last ones. Jan and Pedro then decide to use all the tools individually to demolish the melons and lose another €900 before they spot the photo frame. Else is then asked what an elephant can't do, either jump, swim, or recognize itself in a mirror. And she says jumping is correct, and he corrects Boyo from 2 meters 50 to 2 meters 32. She then rearranges and presses the button, getting 1 more correct, but eliminating her from the game. And Hilda also loses her shoe on the way to the board.
I hope that was mud.
Given what we see later in this challenge, I don't think that was mud.
No.
I like how she says, "Where's my other shoe? Oh, wait, I'm still wearing it." Old person moment.
Well, to be fair to Hilda, her trainers are probably orthotics. They're probably very easy to pull off, just so she doesn't have to struggle to get them off. It's just to make her life easier. She did bring a shoehorn with her. And part of her rider for being on the show was a nice, comfortable chair that also kind of pushes her up when she tries to stand up. Pedro spots the photo frame when they get down to 3,000, and they get down to 2,100 before they realise what the full message is. Hilda and Michelle are asked how an elephant can hear, either trunk, feet, or through their tusks, and they say tusk, thanks to Michelle pushing them that way, but it is feet. Hilda presses the button and 2 more light up, and then Michelle rearranges the remaining 3 and gets absolutely nowhere. Pedro and Jan then decide to put all the watermelons back in the crate and pretend nothing happened. Alexis asked how old an elephant lives on average in the wild, either 40, 70, or 110 years. He says 17 is correct, finding out that Cat is 2 meters 36. He hangs them all correct, but doesn't push the button, and he presses after Sarah tells him to, and they get Jan and Pedro's location with 6 minutes left on the clock.
I just love Pedro calling him and Jan the smartest candidates here, while he's trying to repair a broken watermelon cage before Daddy Gilles comes home.
Yeah, before Daddy Gilles comes and tells them off. And they reach the location, but Jan convinced Pedro to break all the remaining melons in case there's something inside, for a total of €0 of 4,500 for the challenge.
violently destroyed the remaining watermelons. There was like stabbings and shanking, and
I do wonder if Jan thought that there was going to be a Vrystelling or some Passfragen in there or something. But also you wouldn't feed those watermelons to elephants.
No.
the elephant is now exempt from the quiz.
And also, more importantly, if there is something inside, you'd be able to spot it. It's not going to be subtle. There's going to be a hole in the watermelon.
Yeah, they would have drilled a hole in it.
Yeah. But despite their inadequacies, Gilles does allow them to still feed the elephants the remnants of the watermelons in the crate.
Yeah. And then the elephants just look at it's like, ugh, leftovers.
I know there was something in the Discord overnight about how this season has kind of felt a little bit light on the this fucking show moments. But like that sequence at the end of this challenge where the men are literally like sitting on the melon crate whistling while Alexia and Sarah sprint down the path through the clock graphic. This fucking show is just fucking showing off now.
Yeah. As I said on that discussion, at the risk of sounding like someone on one of Michelle's Facebook groups, quote unquote, Bad België is still better than 99% of things that are on TV. I have thoroughly enjoyed all three of these episodes, even though this is probably the weakest of the three so far. I've thoroughly enjoyed all three of these episodes because they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't really need to excel that much, but when they do, they go big on it. Like I love the Mol briefcase as a wrinkle for this season, even if it maybe doesn't always come into play, or even if maybe some of them were a bit handholdy for the Mole, as we might find out at the end of the season. I love the threat of the Mole briefcase being there. I think it's one of the cleverest things they've done in years. And if you're going to have this overarching twist, I'd rather it be something like this than something like the Doublers, where, yes, it forced Senna to play a bit harder, but also it changed how production approached things because they didn't know how much money they were going to give away in each episode.
Yeah. I think this season we've had a few more, 5,000, 6,000 euro challenges where last season they were sort of expecting the Doublers to be a success. So a lot of the challenges were sort of 3,000, 4,000. And I think this season sort of feels like there's a bit more scale to it again, which is nice. Where last season I think was not necessarily like budget mode, but you could tell they were sort of adjusting things to make room for the Doublers. Where I think this is something that sort of adds to the show as it is, rather than needing the show to be changed specifically for it.
I think last season was a lot more kind of high concept, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
I think they thought of Sicily as a place. They thought, we can do so much stuff with Sicily. We can do all these Italian stereotypes. And it worked so well as that season. But I think if you took the Mole briefcase out of this season, I don't think a lot of the attitude of the show would necessarily change. But the Mole briefcase just adds that layer of threat to all the proceedings, that because you opened Pandora's box and allowed this evil in, it's your own damn fault. I think is the theme of this season is this is all preventable, but you didn't prevent it.
Yeah, like I think this is probably the most exciting twist we've had in a while, because the Doublers. Well, we've just talked about that, but then Arizona, Matteo Simone's out in the first episode, and like I get that putting a celebrity in there sort of fits in with the movie theme, but that was a dud of a twist, pretty much. Canary Islands kind of felt like they were doing something interesting with like the pre-show, like all the pre-show battery of tests sort of impacting the challenges, like with the dating coach and the acting coach and like all of that sort of thing. But then losing them all halfway through the season, I think sort of forced them to reassess. And then in the back half of the season, you just don't get any of that. You get a whole bunch of Passfragen. And then Germany, the opening twist was nice, but it was really only the opening episode that got affected by it. Well, I think this season, it's nice to have sort of something sort of carrying on through the season.
Yeah, this season is a lot more normal Mole after two very high concept seasons, because Arizona went big with the whole movie theme and America and all that sort of stuff. Sicily went big with the whole Italy exclamation point theme. Whereas this season, yes, it is still Thailand exclamation point, but there isn't as many not even stereotypes for them to play on. They're not playing on the stereotypes you'd expect them to. They're subverting them a lot of the time. So they're doing stuff like doing the Zodiac, which you'd more expect to be associated with China. Or they're doing stuff like, yes, there might be a massage challenge, but lol, no, you're just doing towel animals.
And then it turns out there was a massage challenge anyway.
Yeah, and then the massage component comes into this episode. They're subverting a lot of the expectations of Thailand, I would say, in this season. And it's a different kind of season than we've had the past 2 years, because the past 2 years have been very high concept and going balls to the wall to theme it. Whereas there isn't really a theme this season apart from this is your own damn fault. You could have prevented this.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing we were talking about with Cambodia, where that they went bright and colourful for Mexico, and South Africa had its issues. But like you could tell what they were doing with those, like they were making it bigger and grander and all of that sort of stuff. And then Cambodia sort of they used it as a location and made it a little bit more quieter and more contemplative. And I think that's kind of how they're approaching it this season as well, where like we're still getting the chaos of racing around Bangkok or the floating market or like those sort of things, but they're doing it in a way that the chaos isn't the selling point. It's more, this is an interesting sort of quirky place. Let's show off the quirks rather than this is chaotic and crowded and all of that sort of stuff that you get on Amazing Race all the time. I think this is a very interesting way of doing it.
And also, lest we forget, my next statement on my notes is they go swimming in a lake of shit. This is still an inherently dumb show featuring people smashing up watermelons and then going for a swim in elephant dunk.
And not only do they go swimming in it, some of them seem to basically dunk their heads in it before they get told, that's not exactly water.
And even better, they then start having a shit fight like this is Team America.
My favorite was at the end of the challenge when Sarah and Alexei show up to the watermelon crate and they're like, yeah, we need the watermelons. And then Pedro and Yan say, do you need whole watermelons? Because if you need whole watermelons, guys, that's gonna be a problem. Maybe if we get some tape and glue, we might be able to put one or two together.
We can always get in the car, go back to the floating market, and just throw the watermelons over our heads at each other.
Yeah.
So, after they fed the elephants, which is an inherently cool experience, they go for a swim and then realise that they're swimming in poo, and Else gets a headful from Sarah that should have gone to Nimrod, because throwing shit at each other is definitely the sort of thing you should be doing on a national television programme. And if you listened very carefully in the background of this shot, you could have just heard Gillian Larson say, do you want to see the elephant dunk? And then Else said no, but she still saw it close.
Look, as long as it was Gillian Larson and not Gillian McKeith.
Yeah, Gillian McKeith was just off to the side rifling through the elephant dunk.
I like how Gillian Larson was on 2 episodes of Survivor total, and it was all part of a one-night premiere. About how long would that be now?
2008 it was. 2008.
Yeah, about a little over 16 and a half years ago. And the second anybody mentions elephant dung, she still comes up in conversation.
And for the avoidance of doubt, obviously Else getting hit in the head with dung is the banner this week.
Obviously.
They knew what they were doing, as I said to you earlier, Bindles. They knew exactly what they were doing because they showed Sarah throwing it and Else getting hit in the face with it. But because she was hidden in that shot, they showed it from a different angle right afterwards. We got 2 separate shots because I went back and looked at this episode to try and get this banner shot. They showed it from 2 separate camera angles because they didn't want us to miss Else getting clocked in the head with elephant dunk. So they wake on day 7, and Sarah and Else decide to trick everyone by waking them up, claiming it's a test in 5 minutes. Sarah is confused by the concept of Alexei wearing a bonnet at night. And Pedro, as we found out a couple of episodes ago, sleeps naked.
Can you imagine if they took the execution is in 5 minutes joke, and make them run into the lobby where they serve breakfast, and Pedro's just trying to wrap himself in a blanket as he runs down the stairs.
I'm busy imagining, Logan.
Yeah, I was going to say Bindles is very quiet here, probably because I used the words Pedro is naked.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been even funnier if Sarah and Else also arranged the chairs into 2 rows of 4 as well. I don't know, facing the microwave or something.
I mean, to be fair, in the preview for next week, we do get a shot of Pedro and Nimrod taking turns pounding.
And what was it, Yan, that says that he refers to Alexei's bonnet as a gnome plop on his head?
Yes, he does.
I was thinking, I don't know if that was the best word choice, man.
Yeah.
As we've said in both previous episodes, Jan loves to put his foot in his mouth a little bit. So, while they're being driven to their next location, a man walks into the streets with a board advertising Radio Mol on 94.2 FM. When they tune in, they hear they're about to play a game for €3,000. Each car can win €1,500. Whichever car wins the most money will hear how the elephant game was sabotaged.
The radio challenge was episode 3 in Oman, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe it was.
Interesting. Healer could not be reached for comment.
So the station will play famous Belgian ads in Thai, and they must identify the company that advertises using it. The first round's worth €300, the second's worth €500, and the third €700. And both of them bank the €300 ones. You'll also notice I'm going to rattle through this challenge because we have, unsurprisingly, nothing to say about it.
Oh, I listen to Belgian radio, old school Belgian radio, old school Flemish radio all the time.
That explains so much about you.
Yeah, Studio Brussels is the only major international radio station that you haven't been on talking about your worldwide travel, Saunders.
I think my favourite part of this challenge is the DJ managing to insult both Jan's previous radio contest win and Nimrod saying they're in Thailand to visit a bunch of landmarks.
Yeah, that sounds boring, Nimrod. Moving on. Noted.
It reminded me of reminded me of Lewis, that reaction. That sounds boring. Moving on.
I mean, it's what happens with us when Logan gives us his suspicions for historians.
Yeah, good point. It's going to be fun to finish historians this year. We're over halfway now. We record episode 6 tomorrow. So car 1 gets the €500 one, but car 2 does not. Nimrod gets overruled on Sleep World by Pedro and Michelle, and with car 2 getting the last one wrong, car 1 win with a score of €800 for a total of 1,100 of 3,000. We cut back to Vilvoorde and the mole saying that the easiest way is to make sure that as many melons as possible get broken. They asked for a drill, but were given a more quiet option, a manual drill. They say they're going to use the drill to make a hole in the melon at night and put the task in there, so it tempts them to do the same thing in the assignment.
And Sarah refers to this as a fucking little mole.
This fucking little mole.
I don't think this is the best sabotage we've ever seen.
No.
And I'm not sure it's going to help anyone actually identify who the mole is.
Look at their hands. Does anyone have blisters on their hands from using the manual drill?
I wonder what would have happened if they didn't touch the watermelon. Like, would they have just gotten to the thing and then Gilles told them, you should pick 6 people who are unafraid of heights or whatever? But I feel like sort of telling them after they get there kind of ruins the surprise of, hey, it's elephants.
I think they were probably nudged towards the suspicious watermelon in the corner.
Yeah.
That's my reading on the situation. Is I suspect they were probably told by someone from production, oh, what's that watermelon doing? And Alexei went, I'm going to go find out. Oh, it's got a hole drilled in it.
Yeah. It's a good idea for a sabotage, sort of making sure the big sabotage in the challenge is done without actually having to be there and blow your cover.
Yeah, I don't think it really told us anything.
No. This is one of those challenges where, I think there's challenges where if you told them how it was sabotaged, you could probably get a lot more information out of it than this one. This one is just sort of, they stuck a note somewhere.
Yeah, I think they were very careful not to spoil anything about what the mole actually did.
Yeah.
So, they reunite for lunch, and car 1 say nothing about what they heard. They get fortune cookies, and inside is a message inviting them to come to the back room to try their luck.
And sadly, it's not a game of press your luck once they get to the back room.
In the back room is Gilles and a bookie. He tells them in Thailand gambling is illegal, but rules are made to be broken. Each of them will receive one ball in a lottery, and if it's drawn, they will get a chance at 2 Passfragen. Each of them has one ball like Michael Mons, but they can buy extra balls for €200 each, up to 4 each.
So, are you saying Michael Mons now has a chance at 5 balls?
Yeah, if he wanted to pay €200 per ball, yeah. He could also combine them to make a mega ball if he wanted to.
Man, healthcare in Belgium is something else.
Is this the filthiest episode we've ever done?
No, last week was. Last week with the 10 minutes of Logan fucking horse chat, that was way worse than this is.
Shower drain.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Saunders,
I'm a shower drain.
for that enlightening conversation topic again.
Happy Groundhog Drain to Daniel Peake.
So everyone around the table agrees to buy nothing until Jan breaks ranks because he wants an advantage. And the bookie brings 12 extra balls with him for a total of minus €2,400.
As soon as Jan said that, I was thinking, yeah, this guy is definitely not the mole. Bottom of my suspicions for the rest of the season.
The mole tactic here, I think, is to buy as few balls as possible because you know everyone else is going to. The bigger question is, do you think the mole knew who had which ball?
No.
I don't think there's a way for the mole to be signalled about that.
Yeah. I wonder whether it's going to be something like the number that they were assigned was actually what their seat number was, or was associated with the seat number that they were sat at the table or something.
Yeah.
Because I think it's fair to say the mole probably sabotaged this challenge. Not necessarily by buying balls, but just stopping the €1,000 coming in every single round.
Also, this is how you do a pot drain.
Yes.
Yes.
People coming into this will assume that I'm going to do a 20-minute rant on how pot drains are inherently shit, and that this was irredeemable. But again, the theme of this season, you did this to yourselves. It's your own damn fault. This was an entirely avoidable pot drain.
And the fact that they could, even with taking money out of the pot, they were given 3 separate opportunities to put back €1,000 to compensate for whatever money they sacrificed, and they still blew it.
Even if everyone had bought 4 extra balls, they still could have only lost €200 in this challenge.
Yeah, because they would have gotten just 3 votes correct.
Yeah. This is an entirely avoidable pot drain that redeems itself because you didn't have to do anything. If everyone had stuck to the party line of we're not buying anything, they could have gained €3,000 in this challenge, potentially.
Yeah.
But because everyone plays inherently selfishly, they did not gain €3,000 in this challenge.
I was surprised that not more balls were added. It was only 12 out of 32.
12's still quite a lot of balls.
Yeah.
12 is enough balls that will get you the attention of the producers of This Morning. Tell us about Bar.
It was 1/3 of what the maximum sacrifice could be, right? Because it was 12 out of 32. That's still only about 1/3.
How did I know that joke would get you, Bindles? Oh, God.
Look, the number of times I've seen 12 balls in a back room.
It's somewhere where it's illegal.
What would that be? 40% of what of the maximum, right? 12 out of 32.
It's 3/8, so 37.5.
Oh yeah.
God, maths, Saunders.
Hey, 2.5% off. That's not bad.
So the bookie brings 12 balls for a total of minus €2,400, and they can only keep their Passfragen if they don't reveal anything. The winners are balls 2, 3, and 6, and each correct candidate voted out will be worth €1,000.
You know what would have been funny is that, the Thai bookie said, "Oh, do you want more?" And there was somebody like Pedro just really pissed off because it's like, "No, we're all doing 0." that he just throws up the middle finger, and then the Thai bookie says, "Oh, so you want one then?" and not clue in that it's that it's supposed to be an offensive gesture.
So for the first round, 3 Thai foot masseurs are brought out and will massage the feet of the people who won Passfragen. Gilles promises them that they're not the best, but they are strong.
When they said that, I thought this was going to be like one of those terrifying Amazing Race foot massages where like they make you scream.
Yeah.
But then this was kind of disappointing after that when you sort of had that mindset going in.
Hey, look, it's the manual drill from the Mole suitcase.
I kind of expected one of those Chinese foot massages, but also, if you think about it logically, they don't want to give away all 3 people who did win the Passfragen. So they kind of have to not be complete dickheads to them.
I got a huge laugh of Alexi arguing that Nimrod's disappointment seemed fake when the numbers were drawn. And I'm like, how can you possibly tell? Nimrod has the least expressive face we've ever seen on the show.
Nimrod was the only one that I was confident on winning that Passfragen. He definitely gave it away by like the end of round 2.
Or especially when they were at the third part where they could figure out how many balls each person asked to be added to the pot, and then Nimrod instantly says, "Wait a second, what is that going to tell us?" I'm thinking, Nimrod, I think you gave yourself away there.
So Hilda describes herself as the Mother Teresa of Flanders, continuing her promo tour from last week of saying that she is goodness herself.
You know what Mother Teresa was known for? Was going into Thai back rooms to gamble.
Are you aware of the fact that apparently Flanders hates Hilda?
What? Why do they hate Hilda?
Flanders is dumb.
Yeah, Flanders is wrong. Hilda is
Flanders
the best.
is a jerk.
Stupid jerky Flanders.
No disrespect to everyone who we've met from Belgium Mole in the past few years, but Hilda is the best casting choice they've done in years.
Yeah.
She's insane.
I love like Else calling her stressed, and then she instantly reacts by mugging for the camera about how happy she is.
Yeah, like does this weird head tilt.
And with the very clear majority of 611, Hilda is the first person to be voted out. And her number was 5, so they earn no money for the pot.
And she heads to Redemption Island, or Redemple Temple.
For the second round, each of them is provided with headphones, and those with Passfragen will hear messages from home, something that will be hard to hide on their faces. And by a vote of 4-3, Michelle is voted out, and her number was 4, so again, no money for the pot.
Yeah, they said, "You look sad, Michelle."
And funny enough, that's also what Tom said to our Michelle when discussing her Facebook groups.
Yes. 25 years, and Morgan didn't decide to join the jury.
Yeah.
And for the final round, the bookie is willing to tell them how many balls were bought and by which number, but if they do, it will lose them the €1,000 regardless. Jan says it's not him, but he did buy extra balls, 4 to be precise. Else bought 0, Alexi bought 1, Sarah bought 4, Pedro bought none, Nimrod claims that he bought 1, but actually bought 3, and that means that Hilda and Michelle also bought none, and they decide not to take the offer.
I like how Jan said he didn't buy any, right?
No, Jan did admit he bought 4.
Jan said
he
he
did
bought
say
some balls,
bought
but he
4.
didn't win.
Yeah.
Like, that is maybe the dumbest way to play this challenge.
Yes.
Because, like, either he's lying and he loses his jokers, or he's telling the truth and voting for him means he's jokerless in a round with 3 people who have jokers. There's no benefit to him for saying, I bought some balls, but I didn't win.
He should have just kept his mouth shut, which, to be fair, sums up his season quite nicely, I think.
Yeah.
By a vote of 3-1, Jan is voted out, and his number was 1, meaning they earned minus €2,400 of 3,000 for the challenge, minus €1,300 of 10,500 for the episode, and €6,450 of 38,900 for the season so far.
Wow, 3,900.
So we also find out that Sarah was ball number 2, Nimrod was ball number 6, and Pedro was ball number 3. And Nimrod also admits to the group that he bought 3 balls.
How did you go at picking out who the 3 people were?
I was sure of Nimrod after round 2. I was sure of Pedro, and I would have guessed Sarah of the rest of them. I think. I don't think Alexi has it in him to lie for 3 rounds, to be honest. And Else didn't seem like she had the Passfragen to me.
Yeah. the only one I got was Sarah, because like I sort of figured Jan flinching in the first round and then doing his really boneheaded sort of logic about buying the balls. That made me think it was him. And then I thought Michelle was doing the thing you do on the traders where you try and divert suspicion by leading the conversation. But like I probably would have got Sarah, but that's about it. Well, Nimrod seemed to have even surprised you.
Yeah, I twigged Nimrod after like the end of round 2 when he kind of gave himself away. Pedro just seemed a little too quiet, like he wasn't going to let anything slip. It felt like he was hiding something there, so I twigged him, and yeah, Sarah would have been my other guess before it was revealed.
Pedro's strategy in round 3 was pretty good, though, because he didn't buy any extra balls, and he said, I want to know how many balls each person added to the pot, because I want to prove that I was telling the truth and added 0.
Yeah.
So that deflects a lot of suspicion right there.
So, it is now time for the test. 20 questions about the identity and actions of the mole. Whoever knows these goes home, except for the mole who can never go home. Pedro, Sarah, and Nimrod all have 2 Passfragen to play on this test. Pedro says he might need those Passfragen as he's on 2 moles. He doesn't expect to score over 10 out of 20. He says Jan could have played it deliberately, knowing he'd lose money. Alexi says losing money in a challenge is a good play by the mole. They will be happy today. Else was most shocked by Sarah, that she could lie so well while hearing her family was impressive. Michelle said the mole knew exactly who had Passfragen and kept misleading them to keep money out. So what Alexi did, steering the conversation, is very dangerous, and she spread a bit more this time. Jan looked at Sarah and then she jumped on him, which was suspicious. Sarah says Hilda was suspicious, but Michelle jumped on her behaviour to get her out. So many people follow whatever Michelle says. Hilda says Nimrod seriously lied. He made sure that he stayed at the table and he lied about how many balls he bought. And Nimrod says Passfragen are valuable, so the mole could have held back. Gilles tells them that the pot took a dive and the elephants didn't bring luck, but the only people who were lucky at the lottery were Sarah, Nimrod, and Pedro. Pedro, Sarah, and Nimrod are all green screens, before Jan is red and the third to be sent home, and Sarah cries.
I know this isn't the point, but like whoever decided the seating order for this execution, put the camera in a place that somehow managed to make Jan look like he was in a remake of Gulliver's Travels with these people.
Yeah, the camera angle was not flattering for him, was it?
No, he looked like twice the size of everyone else.
Maybe he ate all the watermelons.
Maybe.
2 things it is worth pointing out at this point is the execution chairs are apparently exactly the same ones from episode 1. They still all have their names on them.
Yeah.
And number 2, they seem to have changed how they do the suspicion scenes this season, because they keep jumping back and forth between people, which they've never really done before. Usually it's very one person speaks, then the next person, then the next one. But we've been getting like 4 or 5 of people giving their suspicions and then jumping back to number 1 and then jumping forward again. There's always at least 1 or 2 people where we get more than one confessional off them, which never usually happens. I don't know if it is a deliberate choice to be a clue of some description or whether it's just them changing how they do it, but it's worth pointing out, I think, just in case I'm right.
Yeah.
I think Jan has had the biggest reaction of any executed player in quite some time in Belgium.
Yeah, and yet my reaction was just, thank fuck for that. Because as much as I liked Jan being in the season to be my 0-pointer on suspect list every week, I don't care that he's gone particularly, I'll be honest.
No. I wish there was one person eventually in Belgium who just, when they get executed, they just start screaming and crying hysterically in the chair.
Hartverdommer!
Yeah. Just completely inconsolable.
Like, he seems like a nice enough guy, and like he was definitely a net positive for the season, although not as big as Hilda or Nimrod or a couple of other people. And there's certainly people here that I probably would have wanted to see go ahead of him, but I don't think, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think he's a huge loss. I think we probably would have been better off losing like Michelle or Sarah, just because again they pretty much get nothing, even though there's stuff going on with them. It's just they're not showing it, and I wonder whether that's like a deliberate choice for some reason.
Yeah,
it's like Sicily all over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how they said, yeah, Yan was the life of the party. I'm thinking, when did that happen?
Mm.
And then you have Yan crying afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was quite hard, and I wasn't done here yet in this game. I wasn't ready to go. And one of the rare times where Papa Bear has to jump in, he has to be like, "Oh, bring it in, son," and hug it out with Yan.
I feel like the thing we get from Sarah in the aftermath, where she tells us about the card his wife made for him, basically saying, if you drink enough craft beer, you'll become special, is kind of telling. Like, I think he would have been better on a show like Big Brother, where you can sort of, like, it's more of a slow burn sort of thing, where I think he just didn't quite work for this particular show.
I think from our perspective, and speaking incredibly selfishly here, I think Jan was the one person in this cast I was slightly worried about us having to talk to, because, as Alexi says, his English isn't brilliant, but he tried. We probably would have stumbled through something with him, but I don't know if it would have made compelling audio.
No.
I mean, we get away with that language barrier with Saunders, obviously, but
Oh, obviously. I do think his proposal for birth of children, meeting wife, soccer team winning game, losing on Belgian game show to be an only connect sequence is rejected.
yeah.
And then Nimrod starts making a joke saying, "Yeah, he ran up the hotel as if a ghost was chasing him." And then in the montage, they should have shown like a camera operator or an assistant producer with a white sheet over their body, just chasing him up the stairs. Oh, that would have been a great twist in the elimination montage.
I think it's interesting that his intro in episode 1 was basically, I'm looking forward to doing a whole bunch of things with the guys, and also the women are there. And then we find out his favourite experience of the entire journey, a span in which he got to race across Bangkok, travel through a floating market, run up the inside of a dragon, ride a luxury train across Thailand, and feed fucking elephants, was smashing the melons with Pedro, presumably because it was the only one of those things he did with no women around.
Just a couple of bros smashing some melons.
I was going to say, in another similarity to Logan's time in Thailand, his highlight was the melons.
Just manually drilling some melons.
Oh, we know.
And it's like, oh, fantastic, Yan. I'm glad that was your takeaway from this whole experience. Was you and another dude smashing some melons.
It's like a Gallagher family reunion.
Gallagher.
Anyway, I think I can hear a breeze blowing through. He's gone.
He gone.
He wore him alone.
And going back to Logan's time in Thailand, Pedro does say it was the best hour he's ever spent with someone.
And he didn't even have to pay for it.
Logan got overcharged.
So next time, there are dragon boats, Hilda learns to dance, Alexi is chased by a buffalo, and a rice stelling is offered.
Ooh.
On the pool, Shocky absolutely no one. Logan loses his second person, leaving him with just Sarah and Alexi. Bindle still has Pedro, Nimrod, and Els, and I have Michelle and Hilda. On first suspicions, the good news is that no one had Jan as their first suspicion, meaning only Nimrod remains without one. 8 people, Brig, Bram, Elijah, Yoreen, Reed, Walter, Fuzzy, and yours truly all had Jan in 10th. And with a perfect score of 28, 2 people, Fly 101 and Mateus, are leading the pack, while Alice is joined in the loser circle by our very own big loser, Logan Saunders, with a score of 38.
Da, 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 da.
We have to measure how much of a loser he is with like a 30-centimeter ruler.
Yeah, you're currently 10 points behind Saunders, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, I think I missed the memo on the objective of the game.
You so often do. You can, as always, do the suspect list each week at suspectlist.rtvwarriors.com or at the link in our bio. The bonus question this week is the one that Fuzzy's annoyed at me for already. How many bonus balls did the mole buy? 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? Flanders' suspicions last week were Pedro on 18%, Michelle and Els on 16%, Nimrod on 13%, Alexi on 12%, Sarah on 11%, and Jan and Hilda on 7%. Final 2 questions. Who do we suspect, and who's going home next week?
So my order of suspicions: Pedro, Michelle, Sarah, Nimrod, Alexi, Hilda, Els, and then I had Yen at the bottom, but now he's gone. And I expect Who's gonna go? Who's gonna go? I'll say Michelle goes next.
I'm going to say Else first and then Pedro second because I think they were sort of hammering home Pedro a little bit too much this week. I think if he was the mole, they probably would have tried hiding it a little bit more. So I'm going to go Else, Pedro, and then pretty much the same as last week, Hilda, Nimrod, Alexi, Michelle, Sarah. I'm going to guess Sarah's going home just because, honestly, I want one of those two to go home. And Logan's already picked Michelle.
Fuzzy's going to really hate our predictions for who's going home this week because we've all got 3 different people.
Oh, good.
Oh, who do you think is going home?
Fuzzy doesn't usually pick who's going home. She picks who we suspect, but I don't think she's ever put who we think's going home. Oh, except for someone putting yarn on it last week.
Yeah, last week she definitely had someone suspects Jan's going home, which I think was all 3 of us in the end. So maybe we should have marked that wrong because it wasn't someone, it was all of us.
Yeah.
My suspicions are Pedro, Michelle, and Else, Hilda, Sarah, Alexi, and Nimrod. And I do also have to point out this is the last week of 3 suspects. And I think going home will be Alexi. Just to really rout Logan's team going into Final 6. Put you on the bubble of going home.
How do you feel about your top 2 suspects being the same as mine, Michael?
Not great.
Yeah, not great giving you track record this year, Saunders. Just remind me, how many weeks did you have Stein in your top suspects in Vidum 25? To the nearest 0?
I want to say 0, probably -1.
Yeah, I believe it was 0.
How many weeks did you say Nadia was your top suspect in the other Thailand season?
2 damn many is the answer.
She was on Renaissance. You mean it wasn't a different Nadia?
If it isn't Alexi, I think maybe we're going to see Nimrod go.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like he's been so strongly cemented now as not the mole that they might just be setting us up for him going mid-season because the 25-year-old nerdy guy does tend to go kind of week 4-ish. That's where you lose like your Martins and those sort of people.
If he goes home, maybe the following week they'll put old people makeup on him and he'll come back as a doorman for a challenge.
He'll just be outside a hotel.
I'm just imagining them eliminating Hilda and then doing that, and it's like, wait a second, it's the same.
No, if Hilda goes home, they'll put young person makeup on her. They'll make her look like she's 25.
It's Edla, which also sounds like an even older person's name. It's Edla.
It's almost elder. Anyway, anything else you want to say about this episode? It's 12:05.
No, we're good.
It was a good one.
It was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
As I've said many a time, we've mined some gold out of this.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening to our Mol België Season 13 recap. We'll be back next week to continue the hunt for the newest mole in Thailand. Don't forget you can contact us on pretty much every social media platform except TikTok, where we are RTV Warriors, or you can email us and contact us at rtvwarriors.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors. Don't forget to do suspect list at the link in our bio. And thank you, as always, to the Legion of Subtitlers. We will see you next week.
Peace out and just chill till the next episode.
Gold, bull, elephant, shed. It's all a rich tapestry.